I'm Chelsea of Friday Pattern Company, and today we are going to be doing a pattern hack. So I'm going to turn the bodice of the Hughes Dress pattern into a cute like corset top. This is a pretty easy hack. We'll go over some pattern manipulation. So we're gonna lengthen it, and then we're gonna reshape part of the hem, and then I'm also going to add elastic to the hems of the sleeve. There is a full sew along for the Hughes dress that will take you step by step through the sewing. In this video, we'll just go over the modifications to the pattern. To get started with this hack, we want to have our pattern pieces A, B, C, D cut out. Those are the bodice pieces. You'll need piece I, which is your sleeve piece, and then K and L, which are the tab pieces and the tie pieces, and I'll go over the modifications to each piece. Anyway, let's get started. The first thing we're gonna do is add 1 inch of length to pieces A, B, C, and D. I'm gonna demonstrate on piece B. So that's our length and shorten line, and I'm just making a little vertical mark on the length and shorten line. This is so that when I slash and spread this piece, I'm able to have a reference point to make sure it's still lined up perfectly. Now I'm just gonna grab a piece of paper and draw a straight line on it. Now I'm going to slash across my pattern piece along that length and shorten line. Before I tape this pattern piece to the paper, I'm actually gonna add a little vertical line so that I can match up the little mark that I made on my original pattern piece. And apologies that this is kind of sloppy. Also, you should not do this with a marker. I'm doing it with a marker so that I can see it, but you're gonna wanna use something with a finer tip like a mechanical pencil to do these pattern manipulations to get them more precise, but I want you to be able to see it, thus the marker. After I have that set up so that everything is aligned along the horizontal and vertical lines that I made, I'm just taping my pattern piece in place. And then I am making a mark 1 inch up, and then I'm just gonna draw a line in 1 inch up across my horizontal line. I can connect those dots, and then I will tape the upper part of the pattern piece in place. And that adds 1 inch of length to this pattern piece, and then I will repeat that with pieces A, C, and D. This next pattern modification is just for pieces A and B, so the front bodice, and we are going to reshape the front hem and kind of dip it lower in front. So the first thing I'm doing is measuring off the seam allowance along this lower hem and just making a little mark 3/8 of an inch in. The reason that I'm adding these marks is because we need things to match up at the seam lines. So the seam line is 3/8 of an inch in because that's our seam allowance. So we need to make sure that any modifications, any length that we add will match up on the two pattern pieces. So when we add length to, say, piece B, we need it to stay the same where it matches on the side seam with the back piece. Otherwise, the front piece will be longer than the back piece. This will make more sense once we are adding the length in. But for now, just make these marks 3/8 of an inch in on the hems of pieces B and A. I have a piece of paper that I drew a straight line on, and I'm going to add to the hemline of pieces B and A. So I want where B and A join, I want there to be 1 inch of added length, and where at the center front I want 2 inches of added length. So I'm taping piece B in place along this straight line, and I'm gonna measure 1 inch down from the seam line where B and A join, and then I'm drawing a diagonal line to the seam line where piece B would join to the back at the side seam, and then I am going to just draw straight out to the edge of the pattern piece and connect that to add this 1 inch. And this is, you know, a pretty quick way to do it, but it will totally work. And now I'm taping piece A in place, and I'm going to do that same thing where I add 1 inch where B and A are joining, and then at center front I want it to be 2 inches of added length. So measure down 1 inch, and this is more of a straight line, so I'm just kind of creating a little boxed off thing there, and then I'll measure 2 inches down from that center front, and I'm just going to connect those with a diagonal line at first, and then you can kind of create a curve to make that nicer. You want to curve out from center front. You don't want it like a super pointy spot right there. So you could do this with a French curve. I'm just eyeballing it because, again, this is just a quick modification. It's not trying to be like the most perfect garment in the world. So I just kind of curved it out right there. I also added 2 inches to the hem of the sleeves, as well as adding 6 inches to the tab piece and 10 inches to the tie piece. Once you have that all done, we're ready to cut them out of our fabric. You can follow the instructions to start sewing your tabs and tie pieces. I cut 4 extra tab pieces so that I can have an extra 2 rows of lacing along the back to kind of accentuate that corset look. You can follow the instructions in your pattern or watch the sew along videos to get your bodice assembled. We'll meet back up when you are ready to add the sleeves in. After you've completed step 11, we are going to add the elastic to the hem of the sleeve, and I think this is going to be easier to do before we sew the sleeve to the bodice. So grab your sleeve. It should have your gathering stitches at the top and then sewn along the side seam and your seam finished. First, you're going to press the hem edge of your sleeve under 1/4 of an inch. The elastic that I'm adding to the hem of the sleeve is 3/8 inch wide. So now I'm going to press the hem of the sleeve under 1/2 inch. Now you're going to take this to your machine and edge stitch all the way around 1/8 of an inch from that folded edge, and you're going to leave a little 2-inch opening so that we can run our elastic through the channel that we create. To find the length of elastic that I need for my bicep, I just comfortably held elastic around my bicep and then measured that and added 1 inch to it, and then you'll cut 2 lengths of that, one for each arm. I just attached a safety pin to the end of the elastic, and now I am inching it around the hem through the little channel that we created. You'll pull it out the other side, and then we'll take this to the sewing machine and sew it into a loop, just using a zigzag stitch to sew the 2 ends of elastic together. Here that is completed, and now we'll just sew up that little opening that we had left on the sleeve hem, and then you'll repeat these steps for both sleeves. After that, you can sew the sleeves into your bodice following the instructions in the your instruction booklet, or you could follow the video sew along. Here is the bodice with the sleeves, and I love how it's looking. The next up, we're going to do the hem. So we're going to baste the main fabric to the lining all the way around the hem, just 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Now we have our iron, and we're going to use that line that we basted as a guide for pressing this under. And the reason I did 1/4 inch is because I realized after I tried this on that I wish it was a tiny bit longer. This could be at 3/8 of an inch, but I'm doing it at 1/4 inch because I want this top to be as long as possible. Maybe you watching at home, you might choose to lengthen your bodice a tiny bit more. So I'm pressing this under 1/4 inch all the way around the hem. Then you will press the hem edge under 1/4 inch more, and I'm clipping these in place because I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine, and I will just edge stitch this hem in place, and then we're pretty much done. You can follow the instructions or the sew along to add buttons and buttonholes to your top, but that's it. You're done. Here is the finished top, and I am so stoked with how it turned out. I feel like those extra tabs at the top give it a little bit more drama at the back, and this fabric is 100% linen, so it has this very like natural vibe to it, kind of almost like rumpled. And yeah, I'm just gonna be wearing this top all fall. I hope that this video was fun or inspiring for you. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments below, and like and subscribe if you want to see more videos.